You're dialed in to the Dawg Pound Podcast, your weekly shot of Cleveland Browns recaps, reactions, and rants with your hosts, Jon Drake and Chris Aiken.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 3 of the Dawg Pound Podcast. I am Jon Drake. With me is my great friend Chris Aiken. What's going on, man?
What is up, man? A happy time to do the Dawg Pound Podcast, huh?
Yeah, we must be good luck. We start the podcast, and all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, the losing streak is over. 635 days, and we finally have a victory.
It's all because of us.
It's totally us. We're good karma, man. I talk about Baker on the first episode. 2 weeks later, he's the starter, and all that good stuff. So we're just good karma for the team.
Dude, when was the last time that we had a 3-week stretch for the team? I was trying to think of this today, and I should have looked it up. When was the last time we had a 3-week stretch with this team where there was not at least 2 losses?
It would have been. I could be wrong on this, but I think it was the last 4 games of Eric Mangini's second to last season.
What's that?
Because remember they something like that. Yeah, I mean because they ran off 4 straight victories at the end of the year.
Right. Yeah. No, that would be it. And what year was that? Was that 2009 or 10 or something?
Yeah, it was back then.
It was a long time ago. We'll just leave it there.
Yep. And even then it was kind of weird because I remember one of the games was Josh Cribbs just completely owned during the game, and without him we probably would have lost. And then
right.
I don't quote me on this, but Jerome Harrison, I think one of the games was that game against Cincinnati where he had like 280 yards rushing.
Sure. So
it was kind of fluky, but it wasn't like this where it's like sustained good play.
Right. No, definitely not. Dude, I just thinking of all the little jibs and jabs we can take here. When was the last time after more than 2 games had been played that we had a better record than both the Patriots and the Steelers?
Dude, that's crazy. And have you looked at the and I know the tie makes it kind of skewed.
Yeah.
But have you actually looked at, and I'm looking it up here because I looked at this last night,
mm-hmm.
and it's shocking to see what teams we actually have better record than. You're like, that can't be.
Right.
And let me pull up the standings here real fast because you're right. It's the Steelers and the Patriots, but, we have a better record. There's Pittsburgh, there's New England. We have a better record than the Colts with Andrew Luck.
Mm-hmm.
Got a better record than Houston, who was supposed to be awesome with Deshaun Watson. Better record than the Chargers with Phillip Rivers. Better record than the Cowboys. We got same record as the Vikings.
Right.
I mean,
it's crazy.
The Falcons have a worse record than us. The Seahawks, the 49ers. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, and again, the tie kind of skews things, but still, I mean, little victories here, man. Like, you take what you can get, and that's crazy to look at the standings and see that. And you're playing a crappy Oakland team this week, so
yeah. Well, see, and that you saying that, I do not want to get my. Tell me you don't fear this game more than anything right now, because it's like you don't want to say that. You do not want to say Oakland sucks. They're 0-3. They traded their best defensive guy, and Gruden hasn't found his karma yet. I don't want to be that guy. Everybody has always kept us, the Browns, as that team. Well, at least we got that. I do not want to get into that because I'm scared to death that this will be the game.
Right.
That should absolutely be a win will be the game that they lay an egg, that they schemed Baker up well or something, and he throws 4 picks, and he acts like a rookie all of a sudden, or whatever.
Yeah.
I am absolutely petrified of this game this week.
I know. I completely agree with you for the same reasons. And, I mean, their defensive ranking isn't very good. It's, 20th, and I think it's like 20th against the pass or something like that. They're in the 20s somewhere. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's not good. I mean, on paper, it sets up very well for the Browns because they can't get pass pressure for anything.
Right.
So Baker should have a good amount of time to throw, which he, thankfully doesn't really need, but having it never hurts.
Yeah.
So you would think they'd be able to get some good, like, deep passing plays out of that, considering he's going to have time to sit back there and let the receivers do what they do. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, it should be a win now, but okay, we've got one win in 635 days. It's not going to go away immediately.
Right.
Immediately that we're like, oh, now we're supposed to win games. Like,
dude, but
So,
think about it. We could be on next Sunday, on next Sunday night, we could be 2-1-1 through the first quarter of the year, with the only loss being a 3-point loss to a team that is picked to win the Super Bowl.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, in those games, you could argue with a reasonable kicker. You could literally look at that 2-1-1 and say you should be 4-0.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
I mean, there's a legit argument for that. I mean, we've never been able to say that. The only year you could really look at the team and say, oh, coulda, shoulda, woulda, was 2007.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's you go back to the Bernie Kosar years.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've had competitive football. And as I said in the first podcast, and as I've said to you 100 times, in the last 10 years, I don't actually care what their record is this year. I'm not buying playoff tickets this year. I'm assuming. I just wanted to see a professional looking team on the field. And for the first time, and I'll be honest, even in the year that we won the 10 games, the Crennel season, I didn't feel like we were watching professional football. They were winning by all kinds of gimmicks and gadgets and, luck.
Well, it was like, yeah, that was that year that it was real for the first half of the season.
Yeah.
Because Derek Anderson was just a beast, but then he totally regressed in the second half.
Right.
And I mean, I was in Cincinnati, the game, the spot in the playoffs when he threw 4 picks.
Right.
And it was, I mean, and if you really go back and look at that season, I mean, he made the Pro Bowl, but it was based on his body of work for like the first 8-9 games. After that, he went into pretty much being the Derek Anderson we knew before and then afterwards, obviously.
Right. The Derek Anderson that became a backup again once he left Cleveland.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, they are competent this year, and they're competent, they're competitive, and it's so many people were saying after we won, and Cleveland's freaking out. And there's all the videos of people losing their minds and all this kind of stuff. Oh, you guys act like you won the Super Bowl. It's like, yeah, well, okay. I mean, let's go through this because the Browns got a win, but it isn't just that. I mean, it's how we won, who did it for us. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's you get the win, but you get the win after Tyrod Taylor just looks like utter garbage.
Yeah.
And then with 1 minute and 42 seconds left in the first half, Baker Mayfield comes in and zip, 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 zip right down the field.
Yeah.
And, your number 1 overall draft pick, rookie quarterback, engineers a comeback, throws, for 200 yards in basically one half of football, goes 17 of 23 with 3 obvious drops. So he should have been like 20 of 23. Mm-hmm. And, he looks like the real deal. And your 4th overall draft pick gets another turnover and is, basically the front runner for defensive rookie of the year right now.
Sure.
And if Baker Mayfield comes through, and let's say Baker is what he showed in this game, you could make an argument that you might be looking at the Browns having both the offensive and defensive rookies of the year.
You could, yeah. I mean,
and you have a competitive team, and you have a front office that has proven that they can actually draft competently. I mean, this is you know what it is? We're excited because this might actually be that turnaround that other teams get.
Yeah.
And is always an excuse here in Cleveland. Why can't it be us? It happens to other teams. Well, that might be happening.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, watching the game this week, it was definitely, and you were there, so you react better than I can as far as the actual feel in the room. But to me, I almost turned the game off after the first quarter. I was an inch away from shutting it off because I was like, I'm watching the game and they were sucking and the Jets were sucking too. And I was like, this is going to be a 6-0 loss.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I don't want to waste my time with this. I could be watching, anything else than this garbage. And I was about to, and then, then obviously Taylor got hurt, and I was like, okay, well, let's stick around to see what Baker has.
Yeah.
And then when he lit it up, it was like, oh, this is unbelievably good.
Yep. Steph and I were in the Dawg Pound, dude, and I looked at it with a few minutes left in the first half. I said, if this is what it's going to be, I'm considering leaving at the half. I'm not sitting around I was that mad.
Yeah, it was awful.
And I don't leave.
It was terrible, dude. It was so tough to watch because everybody had this game circled as a winnable game.
I just can't believe that Tyrod Taylor came out and was that bad. We looked up in the middle of the second quarter, and, they reported now that, he was 4 of 14 for 19 yards. Like, no, and through the middle of the second quarter, they had negative 14 passing yards.
Right.
They were in the negative.
Did you happen to see, I think it was today, maybe yesterday, that, what's his name, Colin Cowturd was talking about how the reason that Baker was able to come in and be good was because Todd Haley was tanking, was calling different plays for Taylor.
That's such bull crap.
I couldn't believe, I was listening to it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. They're really going to go with that?
That's ridiculous. I mean, the bottom line is exactly what I said on our first episode, was that, those receivers are open over the middle of the field, downfield, and Taylor wasn't hitting them.
No.
Baker does that. It's exactly what I talked about in the first episode happened on Thursday night. Those are the throws that Baker makes, and they were there, and he took them, and it succeeded. It's that simple. Yeah. And when the passing game is successful like that, I mean, everyone's like, oh, yeah, the Jets changed their defense. Well, yeah, they had to, because they knew that Tyrod Taylor was going to do nothing but dink and dunk, so they crammed the line, they rushed the hell out of him. But when Baker comes in and he's gouging them for 15, 20 yards a pass, they have to back off, which then opens up the run game, and you see what happens.
And then Hyde had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he was too shy of 100.
Yeah, so that was a successful game.
Yeah.
The offense played perfectly after Taylor went out. And look, none of us want to see the guy get hurt. I mean, I hope people weren't cheering. I've got to imagine some were, but
they were booing like when he was in, but
were they cheering when he got hurt?
Yeah, no, they were cheering. They were booing when he was playing.
No, but I know. But what I'm asking is, please tell me they were not cheering when he got hurt.
No, but do you know why?
No.
Nobody had any idea what Baker was doing in the game. We thought that Tyrod Taylor got yanked.
Oh,
because when he got tackled, it didn't look like anything, and they didn't show a replay that showed his head banging off the turf.
Yeah.
So it was. We thought, okay, so are they pulling him? We just thought it was like, okay, well, they're going to put in Baker to see what happens in a 2-minute drill, and Tyrod will be back for the third quarter. And then beginning of the third quarter, Baker comes out, and we're like, what the heck? And someone behind us said, oh, Tyrod's injured. And we went, nothing happened. He walked off the field under his own power. He was fine. And then it was only later that night after the game was over that they said concussion, and I didn't even see the video till the next day. Till Friday when it showed him hitting his head off the grass. I was like, oh, okay, that explains it.
Dude, before we get any further with this, I just have to tell you, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were the worst. Every play, every offensive play, they were begging for Baker to be put in. I mean, they were like, oh, you got to second drive, and they were like, well, if it keeps up like this, they're going to have to start making decisions about Baker Mayfield. And I mean, dude, it was as bad as he was in the baseball playoffs with Schwarber. It's like he had the man crush on Baker Mayfield, and just every play from like the second drive on, he was talking about Baker Mayfield. And it was like, it got sickening. It got to where I was like, you know what? Screw Baker Mayfield. Shut up.
Yeah.
Joe Buck is annoying. I don't know how that guy gets gigs with every major sport. He sucks. He's lousy.
He definitely finds a horse in each game and rides it.
Yeah, he doesn't
like
ride it.
Perfect example. He said that Kyle Schwarber thing in the series.
Yeah, he doesn't just ride it. He rides it. He beats it. He grinds it up and eats it. He just never stops with it, man.
I'm glad I didn't have to listen to that.
Oh, it was brutal. And Troy Aikman, too. Troy Aikman used to be insightful in the announce booth. Now he just stinks. Now everything is a comparison to his career. And that was what he was doing the whole time. He was like, yeah, I was on a 1-15 team, too, and we had personality problems too, and then we got it together, and maybe this is the time for Baker to bring. It's like, shut up. Call the game, asshole. Jesus.
Yeah, there was none of that. I was in the dog pound. I didn't have to suffer through that. I did have to suffer through being quiet, which was I actually, dude, I pulled it off, but it was the single greatest like showing of self-control I've ever displayed in my entire life.
Right.
I don't know how I got through that. If that's a Sunday game tonight, I'd be talking like this because there's no way.
Yeah.
Because when Baker came in, I was like, what in the hell is this? Like, am I actually going to get to see this? So, I mean, it was, dude, and I gotta say, I mean, they talk about the way that the energy changed with the team and with the fans and the city, and they really can't describe it accurately because when he came in, it was, a few people saw him on the sideline, like, but on the field, like warming up with his helmet on, like ready to go. And I'm like, dude, Baker's warming up. What the heck? Like, he's on the field. Like, what is this? And people started realizing that he was out there, like, and it was like turning up the volume on your radio. Sure. It was a slow build, and then all of a sudden on the Jumbotron, they put up his player bio. So it's it's got his picture in real big. It says Baker Mayfield, number 6, and the whole place absolutely lost its goddamn mind.
Oh yeah, dude,
it was. I've never heard it that loud. I've been going to games since they came back. It's never been that loud, and there's never been an energy in that stadium like that for the rest of the game.
The energy changed watching it too. I mean, you could just tell. You could tell. The team looked defeated. They kept showing the sideline. The team looked absolutely deflated when in the second quarter.
Yep.
Looked like they had already like given up, really.
Conceded, yeah.
And Baker came in, and everybody was up and laughing, and they kept showing the crowd, and everybody was going apeshit crazy. And I mean, it was really, really, I got to say it. There was a pride in the city for me, just watching that we're on national TV, and we had all, everything all lined up, and the city looked good. Nobody looked like an idiot either.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody that was, acting too stupid.
No, it was way. Not at all. And dude, nobody caught this, and I haven't seen any video of it on like Twitter that a fan caught or something. But unfortunately, it happened in a TV timeout because, oh my God, I wish I could see this all over again. But after the first touchdown, when Baker caught the 2-point conversion,
yeah,
in the TV timeout, they showed him on the Jumbotron on the sideline,
right?
And he was losing his shit, dude.
Nice.
He was inciting the crowd and like screaming and fist pumping and going, "Come on!" Like and the whole place was going bonkers. I mean, you want to talk about earning fans? Anybody that wasn't a Baker fan, I mean, forget the ending of the game. They became a Baker fan right there watching that Jumbotron because it was like, it was incredible. And that happened, and they had Tim Couch at the beginning of the game, like, because they're having like a Browns alumni every game in like the middle of the first quarter,
right?
Like talk to the crowd. They get up on a dais in front of the Dawg Pound. They talk to the crowd in TV timeout. So they had Tim Couch, and everybody was cheering him. Well, the last game was Bernie Kosar,
right?
The Steeler game, but they brought Bernie back out at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and so of course we're rocking, we're on this comeback, and then there's Bernie Kosar, so you can imagine what that did.
Sure.
And he goes through the "Here we go, Brownies, here we go," and places going crazy. He's like, "Here we go, Brownies." We're all like, "Hoo, hoo." All of a sudden, you hear everybody like almost go silent, and all you hear is Bernie go, "Here we go, Brownies, here we go," and you just hear 68,000 people go, "Hoo, hoo," and he did it twice. It was, dude, I can't even describe to you what it was like to be in that nice. Stadium. It was. This just feels everything about that game and the energy in the second half, and Baker and what the team is. This feels different. It feels real.
Now, see, and you know what this does? This is where you and I show our differences. Because if they, and I am not thinking this is going to happen. I'm certainly not hoping this is going to happen. But if they lay an egg on Sunday, you are going to be devastated.
Oh, yes, I am. I fully admit it. I completely expect that it could happen. I'm realistic about that, but I'm not going to lie that I am just praying that we go out there and get a solid, no nonsense victory with no drama It's just a one team being better than the other all day long, and Baker just looking like, yeah, this is the guy.
If they go down 42-3, I'm going to come and look for you digging a hole to jump into in your backyard. Because you're all the way in. You are all the way in.
Oh yes, I am.
And we're playing, and plus the stars are aligned to where we're playing a team that we absolutely should be beating.
Yep.
So if it doesn't, and you know what? The only thing I'm going to remind you of is to look back on ESPN and see how the lowly, even worse than us Buffalo Bills spanked, the Vikings yesterday?
Yeah, it was the Vikings.
And they didn't just beat them. They spanked them. They spanked them really hard. At one point, it was like 26-7 or something.
27-0.
Yeah, I mean, they were beating them. So it can happen. And I know you're just like way in. From watching the game, did you come away with anything negative? Because I have one. I only have one this week.
Man, I'm trying to think because there's no real point in bringing up the quarterback play because it's so obvious. And I mean, Baker got rid of the ball. He made his decisions in time, and he threw. I mean, in one half, he threw for 200 yards.
Yeah. So
I mean, what are you going to complain about? I don't know that I really have anything.
Yeah, I am not sold at all on Greg Joseph. Boy, he looked shaky. No. He looked very shaky. He made his kicks. I'll give him. He did what he was supposed to do. He did exactly what Hugh said, and Hugh even said it in his press conference on Friday. He said, "I don't care what they look like. I care that they just go through the uprights."
Yeah, that's what we said.
And technically, that is what happened, and exactly that is what happened because what do you have? 4 kicks. He had 3. 3. They all looked like knuckleballs. They all were. He didn't. And I mean, you can chalk a little bit of that up to, new holder, not
nerves
comfortable on the field, nerves, knowing how the team, what happened to the last guy the week before. You can put all that together. But this is a professional kicker, and he didn't look very comfortable at all. And there was the one play somewhere was it in the third quarter where the Browns, it was when Baker was in, and the Browns were at about the 38 or the 40-yard line, and it would have been like a 54. It would have been a 54-yard field goal. And they chose to punt. And that told me that Hugh doesn't have confidence yet in Greg Joseph. And rightly so, from seeing, the knuckleballs that he was kicking. But, I don't think they're sold on this guy. I don't even know that this guy is. It wouldn't shock me at all if they're still trying out kickers. It just wouldn't. But, hopefully with a little bit of time, to get comfortable and know his teammates. And, that guy got brought into a bad situation. He was, he gets picked on Monday. He's never even stepped on the field, and he's kicking in front of a national audience on Thursday. That's tough. But he did look shaky. And just little things. His follow-through was weird. He does have a weird follow-through, yeah. He has a weird, maybe more the gait or whatever. Isn't that what they call it? The gait that they swing the leg through or whatever? He looks like a rugby player. He doesn't kick it smooth. And he does kind of. And I don't know if that's why the ball was a knuckleball and if that's his thing, but he makes it every time or what. But that's really the only thing that I saw that really wasn't very good. The defense looked solid. As they've been, they continued to look solid. They made Sam Darnold look like a rookie, which that made me really happy, the way that they were kissing his ass all week leading up to it. Boy, did they eat his lunch in the second half, man. They destroyed him. And that was great. And, I obviously we ran the ball better, which says that the line is starting to gel. I didn't hear Harrison's name one time. That was good. Again, 2 games in a row. Yeah, so no offensive line penalties again. Yeah. So it's coming together. Special teams, I didn't see any stupid special teams play. I still wish that they would stay in their lanes a little bit more. They're still giving up too much yardage on the punt returns. You know, for a team that is relying on field position to win, which until we really see what Baker has, we still have to play the field position game. You know, we can't just say, yeah, we'll take it from the 3 and we'll march 97 yards. We're definitely a team that needs to punt better than the other team punts and slowly gain that extra 4, 5, 8 yards until we start at midfield. You know, we're one of those type of teams. It kills me watching our coverage. Our coverage, and I don't know, you probably can't see it from the field level that you're at. But it seems like wherever they're kicking the ball to, like if they kick to the left or the right side, everybody's just collapsing on that side. And it more than not, it seems like we're getting those runs where the guy has to run a long way to get to the other side of the field, but they're turning the corner at least once or twice a game. Which and the core reason for that is that the gunner on the other side, whatever the other side is not staying in his lane. He's fading toward the ball, which is natural. You know, it's pretty hard to run. You know, if the ball is to your left in front of you, it's pretty hard to keep running straight and not left. You know, and I get that, but they got to do a better job of that to keep the lanes a little bit closed off. You know, we're giving up an extra 5-10 yards on just about every punt, and Colquitt's doing his job. He's kicking 40-50 yards a punt, but they're getting 10-15 yards on every return, and that's not good enough for this type of team.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Thankfully, it's, you know, if we're finally getting to the point where our complaint is about special teams, that's we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So, it's just a crazy feeling, you know, thinking about the fact that, you know, we might have actually finally nailed a draft and gotten a franchise quarterback. I mean, it's the weirdest feeling because in the first half, Tyrod's in there. And you'd look up, it's like 3rd and 9, and you're like, oh, man, we're screwed.
Yeah.
And then Baker would be in there 3rd and 9, you're like, it felt like 3rd and 1.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it was the weirdest feeling. Like you just have this confidence that, you know, that's makeable. Whereas with Tyrod Taylor, you're like, all right, 4th and 6 is coming up, you know? Like,
right.
And, you know, no dig on, I mean, Steph and I were talking, we feel so bad for Tyrod Taylor because he's like the consummate professional. He's super great in the locker room. He's been great with fans, and he knew that this was like a one and done type of thing. And he's going to get screwed on this deal. And you just feel so bad, but you know, we've waited so long for this that it's like, yeah, I feel bad for him. Ah, poor Tyrod. Okay. See you later.
I'm not feeling that bad for him. I mean,
yeah,
he $10 million. Nah, I don't feel bad for him at all.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Like he can. You know, I feel bad for him, but then again, he's going, you know, going to sleep on a pillow stuffed with millions of dollars. So can't feel too bad for him.
He's got plenty of hookers and blow money. He's fine. 10 million this year. He's fine. And let's be honest, 10 million to sit and kind of chill for most of the season. You know, he's gonna clipboard carry. That's what he's gonna do for 10 million. That's not a bad deal. You know, he wouldn't have got it anywhere else.
No, it's just it's so amazing to me to see the difference between good quarterbacking and average to poor quarterbacking, because we're so used to seeing the latter that, you know, when you bring another guy in, he might be a little bit better. You're like, okay, but I mean, seeing someone, and again, it's only one half. I know that.
Yeah.
But putting those two skill sets against each other and seeing the results was so stark. It was incredible to watch. I was like, man, I know that the quarterback position is the most important position in football, if not all of sports. And you know the impact that good quarterback play can have, but we haven't seen that.
Right.
And to actually see it in front of us on our team is such a slap in the face. You're like, holy crap, this is what we've been missing all these years. I mean, it was crazy to see this. And I mean, it really gave you a feeling like that. You almost knew that comeback was going to happen.
Sure.
And when they got the ball back and they had 8 minutes left on the clock or whatever, and they just go on that long drive. I mean, they ate like 6 minutes worth of clock.
Right.
So that not only did they score, but they ate clock and gave the Jets almost no time to do anything with it.
Sure.
And it was just incredible because I'm sitting there like, damn, this is what a real football team does. Like, this is, this is something we've never seen.
Yeah.
It was just so staggering. I think I'm probably still in shock. I mean, I was watching every interview and highlight I could on Friday and then on Saturday and all this stuff. It was just, I'm like, am I finally at a point where I can watch the Browns and not be talking about hopefully we get a top 5 draft pick by week 6?
Mm-hmm. Dude, and yet there's still people out there. I was listening to a little sports talk today, and I literally heard a caller on 92.3 call and say, we really need to go back to Tyrod. And he was dead serious. And he had his whole thing about, we're going to get Baker hurt, blah, 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 blah. And it was just like, dude, how can you call yourself a football fan? Forget the Cleveland Browns, for God's sakes. Look at any one of these quarterbacks that is great. Once they got in, they never went out.
Yeah.
Everybody makes such a big deal about Aaron Rodgers sitting behind Brett Favre for a few years or whatever, and that's fine. He did. But once he came in, he never came out. Right? I mean,
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson barely made his team the year that he became the starter.
He was a 3rd-round draft pick, and then they had signed that Matt Moore guy.
Yeah.
And Russell Wilson beat him out in training camp.
Yeah.
This big free agent signing, they benched him because Russell Wilson outplayed him so badly.
Yeah. And Russell Wilson has never looked back. Tom Brady, if you want to go old school, Tom Brady took out, what was that quarterback's name? Drew Bledsoe. And he was a 7th-round pick. But once he got in there, never came back out. Still hasn't come back out. The good ones don't come back out. And, the hope is that Baker is one of the good ones.
Yep.
I just hope that fans, and especially hyper fans like you, do not get disappointed somewhere in this season when he has back-to-back 4-pick games or whatever. Because he's a gunslinger. He definitely... he's like in a lot of ways, he reminds me, especially now that I've seen him, in a real game against a real defense. He reminds me an awful lot of Brett Favre. A lot of balls. Sometimes he's going to make mistakes, flexing those balls.
Yep, I agree.
And he's going to have periods where he's one of those guys, and I don't know this to be true. I mean, I guess time will tell, but he also seems like one of those guys that when things aren't going well, he's going to try and take it all on his shoulders and try to will the team to win all by himself, which is never a good thing in a quarterback. Some have been able to do it. Peyton Manning was always able to do that. But most quarterbacks do not do that very well. And he's going to have that, and what I hope is that he stays level-headed enough and the fans stay level-headed enough that we don't hear people in the stupid stands chanting for Stanton or whatever. That would be just ridiculous.
No, I think the honeymoon period is going to be quite a while on Baker. I mean, he's, how we are in Cleveland. It's like he's the number 1 overall pick, so people are just going to, go bonkers for him no matter what. And
you hope that, dude. But I'll tell you what, most people, including myself, well, I went this way from the day he was drafted, but there was no honeymoon for Johnny.
Oh, yes, there was.
No.
Even when he was sucking, people were still defending him.
No. Well, yeah, but there was equally as many people that hated him. But those people hated him right off the bat. That's the difference here.
Yeah. Is that when he was drafted, I mean, my wife is case in point. Even when he did well, she was like, he's still a jackass.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like Donald Trump. The people that hate him, just no matter what he did,
right,
they were still going to hate him,
right,
because he was a cocky, he was a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
But with Baker, he doesn't have that, and he's, the golden child still. And I think people are going to, ride that train with him. And especially starting out the way he did against the Jets, that's going to go a long way.
He bought himself most of this season, that's for sure, with that one half of
he
football.
bought himself all season, man. I mean,
I don't know. If he throws 3 picks a game for the next 6 weeks, I don't think you're going to say he bought himself all season. You're going to hear a lot of people pissed.
Well, but I mean, they can't be. I mean, that's what a rookie does.
Oh, they can be.
And you can't go back to Tyrod. I mean,
I'll tell
to your point a minute ago, these people that said, "Oh, they should stick with Tyrod." No, they can't.
I agree with you.
What would the veterans say?
I agree with you.
After they see that, and then you go, "Oh, we're starting Tyrod." They'd be like, "What?"
But you know what the fan argument would be, don't you? The dummies that listen to talk radio that call in will be like, well, look at what Patrick Mahomes is doing over there in Kansas City. If we would have just stuck with the veterans and not put him in, he wouldn't suck. He'd still have his confidence for next year. You will hear that if he goes bad for multiple weeks. You'll hear it. I believe me. I'm not trying to shit on Baker's parade here, man. I'm really not. I'm as excited as anybody. And I am very excited to see a quality-looking young quarterback, that has qualities of many, many great quarterbacks. I mean, You watch him play. Forget his yards. I don't care at all about yardage or whatever. He's playing with guys that 3 years from now, some of these guys that he's throwing to will not be on the team. He will have upgrades at some of these positions.
Oh yeah,
and he's never played in the pros. This game is 15 times faster than what he's played against, up to this point. And you watch him and you're seeing, all right, he does this like Drew Brees. He does this like Brett Favre. He does this like Aaron Rodgers. And you're like, wow, there's a lot of really raw talent in there that is so talented that he could actually become very, very good.
Yeah.
Now, and with any luck, he doesn't go all Josh Gordon and, just blow that talent because, of whatever reason. But, I love watching him. I love watching what I saw on Thursday, that's for sure. And I just hope that people try to stay a little bit realistic here and understand that no matter how good he looked Thursday, he's still a rookie that has played exactly 2 quarters and 2 minutes of football in the NFL.
And some of the defenses that you're going to run up against, are not going to be very forgiving, And you do have, like you had mentioned, like I hope he doesn't try and take the whole team on his shoulders, type of thing. I mean, we're playing the Chiefs later this year, and Patrick Mahomes is throwing like 18 touchdown passes a game. Yeah. So I mean, you're playing an offense that's dropping 40 like it's their job,
right?
So I mean, that is a case where you want to see what he does. Is he going to be patient and let the defense do their thing and then play our game, like establish the run and take your shots downfield? Or is he just going to start trying to get into a gunslinger contest with Mahomes?
Yeah, and what you hope, though, is that he's smart enough to, and this is something that NFL players rarely do, but you would hope that he is smart enough to look at what he has versus look at what Mahomes has and say, yeah, I don't have that talent to throw to. Part of the reason Mahomes is doing so good is because he has Hunt, Hill, and Kelsey versus us having, Njoku, Hyde, and Jarvis Landry? Mm-hmm. Landry's probably close or maybe a little better than what they have as far as a receiver, but we definitely are not as good at tight end as the Chiefs, and we're definitely not as good at running back as the Chiefs. At least not yet. At least not yet. And I mean, Carlos Hyde's a quality running back, but he's not on that level. Where you expect him to break 2 or 3 runs for 30 yards a game. Yeah, he's not that guy. He's a bull rusher that's gonna he's gonna get the ball 20 times. He's gonna get his 100 yards, but he's gonna fight for every single one of them.
Yep.
So with any luck, Baker will understand that. And not go into that mode of, well, if he can do it, I can do it. I mean, it's more than just Baker's talent is what I'm trying to say. And he did a lot on Thursday, and he made the players play better. He made everybody around him play better, and that's fantastic. But now he's got to build on that. Now there's not going to be as much excitement Look, when he hits the field against the Raiders, it's not going to be this excitement of coming from obscurity. So it's going to be more about game planning and being smarter than the next guys. Being smarter than the defense from minute one of this week, even though the Raiders don't have a great defense. And I'm not saying he can't do it. He certainly can do it. Again, my only concern here is I don't want people to get way, way over we drafted Otto Graham's, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want people thinking that, this is the new Tom Brady or this is the new Brett Favre or Peyton Manning or whatever. What we got right now is a guy that played one really good game. And I think you could probably look and find a really good game from Brady Quinn in there somewhere too. So let's just not get all crazy quite yet.
Yeah. And I am the homer, and I admit, I'm a huge Mayfield fan.
Sure.
And I admit that I'm, having daydreams of greatness. But, there is the realism. I'm well aware of the fact that, finding someone that is like that next franchise level Drew Brees, Peyton Manning type guy
sure,
is really, really difficult. And you just never know.
Mm-hmm.
So
no, you don't.
I am ready for Sunday. Oh my God, am I ready for Sunday? But it is in the back of my mind that Thursday night was just pure adrenaline,
right,
on the whole team's part, especially Baker. And now once it's a regular week and Baker's officially named the starter, like he was today, and they're preparing it, it's going to be crappy again. I honestly, I'm more expecting that than I am for them to come out and just destroy the Raiders, because that's just how it happens in Cleveland. And I'm so used to that it's like until the narrative changes, it's
sure,
just going to be one of those things like, well, this is how it is. Like,
well,
prove me wrong.
And the thing is for the Browns to beat the Raiders this week, it can't just be Baker. And that's the thing no one is talking about in this town. I mean, like I said, I listened to a little sports talk today, and I listened Friday as well. And it's Baker. Well, Baker's not going to be worth a damn if Njoku goes back to dropping balls. And Baker's not going to be worth a damn if Landry's actually hurt. And if Carlos Hyde gets 35 yards in the game against the Raiders and Chubb gets one carry. That we could easily go back to losing another game if everybody doesn't produce. It has to be everybody. If Harrison gets 4 penalties for false starts or something, and we lose half a field of field position, then we could easily see a loss. That's why I'm thrilled about Thursday. I could not have been more happy, but Thursday's done. And now it's like, okay, now it's time to focus on the Raiders. Now it's time to build. And that's something that, and again, if they do it, that's going to be exciting, because we haven't seen that in, what did we say at the beginning of this, of the show here, that we haven't seen that in 7 years or something, where they build on something. And, now they actually have a chance to build on what they did last week. So it is definitely an exciting time, if nothing else, to be a Browns fan. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, we actually have something to watch, and we have Baker's in a good spot, if for no other reason than because of what the defense can provide. I mean, we said it before on the show. They had 13 takeaways all of last year. Mm-hmm. In the first 3 games, they already have 11. I'm pretty sure they still lead the NFL in that category.
Sure.
And you got Denzel Ward playing lights out. You got Myles Garrett, who got another pair of sacks the other night. The defense is legit, and they keep giving the offense more chances to score.
Right.
And I'm very interested. I think the thing that I'm most interested to see with the offense is whether or not Baker can actually turn those takeaways into points, because Tyrod just wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that has to happen when you're getting all those turnovers. You have to turn that into touchdowns,
right?
And that I think that's going to be the biggest difference that I'm looking for. Like, I'm sick and tired of field goals. Like, if Baker drives them down and is still getting field goals, that's not good enough for me.
No.
I want touchdowns. You know, we need to build leads, like sizable leads.
Yeah,
and that's the next step that they have to take.
Yeah, well, and that's it. They got to score points, and again, it's not only Baker though. You know, there was there's guys that have to step up. You know, not trying to pick at anybody, but what did Callaway do on Thursday?
He only had a couple catches. I think it was like 4.
Yeah, I mean he sort of disappeared in the mix a little bit. He as talented as he is, he should be up more. And again, a lot of that has to do with it. Does he get the targets from Baker? And I would imagine with a week of practice, Baker will start getting more comfortable with him.
Yeah, and don't forget that his numbers are a little skewed because if Tyrod Taylor doesn't underthrow him on that bomb, we're talking about he has like a 5-catch game for 110 yards and a touchdown, which is then you're going, holy crap, look at this. I mean, is it that just that one play, and you know he was just underthrown.
Yeah.
Yep. So you know but I mean you are right though. I mean he's gonna have to step up, especially in the absence of Josh Gordon. I mean he's filling that role of the deep threat receiver. Well, and
wasn't it interesting to turn it on last night, see Gordon standing on the sidelines, that he was not even active?
Yeah, well, screwed my fantasy team because. But
you picked up Gordon?
I had him. I already had him.
Oh, dude, cut your losses.
Well, you get him. I get him in the. This is what I do in fantasy football. When I fill out all my positions and get my depth, I pick nothing but Browns and the crap Browns. When you're like, I need my 5th receiver, like I draft Browns then. And for example, on the league that I'm in with my in-laws, I actually have Baker Mayfield.
Oh, jeez.
So, because I named the team Baker's Touchdown Makers.
Oh, of course you did. Jesus.
Because it was, I was joking around and everything, and but I'm like, do I have to start him now because he's starting this week and I named the team after him? Like,
right?
Or can I be realistic and keep making my decision between Cam Newton and Drew Brees? Like, so, but and I've got Antonio Callaway on that team, and I had Nick Chubb and I dumped him. And you know what? Let me answer a question that you asked earlier. I figured out an answer. You asked, is there any negatives?
Yeah.
Nick Chubb, he has got to get his ass in gear. I know they're only giving it to him like 3-4 times a game, but he hasn't done anything with it. Well, and his run, he's tentative hitting the hole, so he's only gaining a couple of yards a carry. And I mean, he was touted as being, like a second Carlos Hyde, and he hasn't done a damn thing. He's got to get his ass in gear.
I wonder if he doesn't perform in practice, and that's why they're not giving him the ball more.
From what I understand, it's because he's still not catching on in the pass protection area, like blocking.
Yeah. Well, he definitely isn't catching on in the special teams area either. I mean, for God's sakes, why are they putting him out there on special teams?
I have no idea.
That's he's your backup back, and I know that you fill it with backup guys, but come on, you drafted him high in the draft. Don't put him out on special teams that he's probably not played since grade school. Honestly, I mean, Nick Chubb's been a star all through high school and college. You think he really was a special teams guy?
He's a USA All-American, 5-star, this, that, and the other, and we're gonna have him
being
protecting
a gunner.
our punts.
Yeah, being a gunner. Stop it. Just take him out. Put in the guys that are legitimate special teams guys, and focus him. I honestly think that's the reason that Chubb is not getting a lot of carries. It just seems like he's not focused. Because, putting him on special teams, that's the kind of thing that you do to a player that's not producing, in practice. You just put him on special teams because special teams sucks and people get hurt in special teams. And it's just, I mean, he's way too high of a draft pick to be out there on plays that almost every single one of them somebody gets hurt on.
Yeah.
You would think if he's a valuable asset, you don't. You very rarely will see the top star doing anything except maybe running a return back themselves, because they're good in space or whatever, like Landry was running kicks back the other week. But you would never see Jarvis Landry out, on the line on a punt. and you never would see Carlos Hyde on a punt.
Yep.
You just wouldn't see that, but you got Nick
Here
Chubb
comes
out
Baker
there.
making a tackle on the returner.
That's what I'm saying. But they're the fact that they don't value Chubb enough to leave him off the special teams, that says something about what they're seeing game to game, week to week. And the fact that Hyde is running for 16 carries or whatever, and Duke is getting his 4 or 5, and Chubb's getting like 2, something's amiss there, man.
Yeah. I was actually happy that they actually started using Duke a little bit more this last game. I like that. They put him out, as a receiver several times, and they threw it to him, and he did get a couple carries. And I'm still so surprised that they haven't used him more, because it just seems like that's something Todd Haley does, you know?
Well, dude, and maybe they learned their lesson from the week before when they watched Kamara go crazy, against the Browns. But catching the ball out of the backfield, running the ball, with a little bit of zip. That's what they need to do with Duke. They need to, honestly, it wouldn't bother me at all if they made Duke the feature back and they had Hyde, as the part-time back, and used him the way that the Steelers used to use Le'Veon Bell, or the way that the Saints are using Kamara.
Yep.
I would love that, because that's just another weapon for Mayfield. To have, I mean, nothing against Carlos Hyde. I mean, I'm certainly loving what he did this week, but you're not going to see him coming out of the backfield and catching a bubble screen and taking it 15 yards. You will see that.
No, that's
with Duke.
definitely a Duke Johnson thing.
Yeah, you'll see that with Duke, and to not have him on the field, to take that option away from a fairly new quarterback, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Leave as many options as you can for that guy on the field.
Yeah, I go back to something I said in a previous episode, but I really wonder, we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but, seeing the jump that the defense has made in the second year under Greg Williams, I'm really wondering, if next year, what the offense is going to look like if everything stays the same. Like, let's say, Hugh stays coach and, Haley and, Williams are still in place. Like, I'm really interested to see what happens with the offense if, in year 2 under Todd Haley's system, as I trip over my tongue. But I'm interested to see if they make a similar jump as the defense did, because if that were to happen, I think you would, that would be that'd be kick ass. That's for sure.
All right, let's get past the Oakland game before we start talking about 2019.
I know, right? That's what this game does to me, though. It's like, it's been so long since you had a competitive, really good team playing football in Cleveland that it's like I just can't help myself but think about it. Like, ooh, what if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? And it's almost like there's two parts of me. Like, the one is the one just freaking out, wanting to get to the Oakland game, like, oh my God, Baker Mayfield's going to be the next Joe Montana. I just know it. And the other part, that's the realistic part. So, it's like you said, you got to have a sense of realism about it. And
well, you don't.
I try. At least I admit that I'm a homer.
You are trying. I will say you're way more restrained than I thought you'd be. I thought for sure this would be you playing parade music for Baker and just celebrating him and offering him his yellow jacket now for the Hall of Fame, and
it's cool, but and I love seeing all the stuff that I saw in the preseason. I was like, man, look at that, like things that quarterbacks do, like, the accuracy and getting rid of the ball quickly and all these different things. I'm like, dude, that translates. Like, those are things that doesn't matter if you're a rookie or not. If you do those things, you can have success. And it translated to an actual regular season game in the clutch and everything. That game was like a Browns fan's dream.
Yeah.
We didn't just to not just get a win, but to have it in come from behind fashion, by your number 1 draft pick, assisted by your number 4 draft pick. It's like you couldn't script it any better, on national television. And that said, I know that it could be a 1-game fluke, and Mayfield could just be another Deshaun Kaiser. And
let's
his
not
magical
go there.
Well,
let's not.
Dude, isn't that Cleveland luck though? Like, you get this guy that's just a total beast, and then it turns out that he has this magical ride throughout his whole life. Like, he's a walk-on here, he's a walk-on there, Heisman Trophy winner, did this, did that, blah, blah, blah. Gets to Cleveland, first game, he gets this magical comeback, and then
Right.
Like just the rest is just dog shit.
It could happen.
That's
That's
what happens to us.
For you as the Homer Browns fan, and I think you like football better than basketball.
Yeah.
Thursday night versus the Cavs championship. For you.
Cavs championship.
By a lot or by a little?
By a lot.
Really?
Because the thing with the Cavs championship was it was 52 years of being the butt of every joke.
Yeah.
And every time you get to the playoffs in any sport, you have to see these goddamn replays of the drive and the fumble and Red Right 88 and the shot
Right.
and the decision. And now there's something at the end of it that goes, and the title.
Right.
Like, I mean, so it was a weight lifted off of the entire city, and you kind of felt like, okay, now the floodgates can open.
All right.
I mean, let's face it, without a rain delay in Game 7 of the series that year, we might have had two, the momentum was on the Indian side. We'd have had two titles out of the three major sports in one season after 52 years of nothing.
Okay, how about the game Thursday or the Cavs making it to the finals last year?
Oh, Thursday by far. Thursday by far.
So if they don't win, it doesn't matter.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, because it's like, okay, you're in the finals, but did you win a championship? No.
Right.
And especially even last year, I mean, it was, you don't have a prayer in hell of
Right.
beating this team. I mean, you were just waiting for the inevitable. And especially after the way the game one ended,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, they're done.
Yep.
That was their only shot.
Oh, I know. I'm just dogging you out anyway.
No, I know. No, I know. But yeah, I mean that game on Thursday was, and I don't want to oversell it as a homer, but it was a feeling that I really haven't had since the Bernie Kosar years.
Right.
And I mean that's why it feels so different. It's like, holy crap, this is real. This is, let's say the team is what they showed in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a competitive team. This is a playoff team, and the more you add to it, you could be a championship team. And I mean, that's again, we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
But I mean, that defense is legit. And people say, "Oh, it was against the crappy Jets." Yeah, but did you see the pass pressure they were getting?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were all over us.
Yeah.
And Baker changed it all, and the offense changed it all. And the defense fed off of it, and it's. Again, there's just something about this that just feels like it's actually legitimate this time. It's not fluky. Like, we got lucky, like caught lightning in a bottle. It's like, no, this is actually competent play, the way that a professional team actually plays.
Right.
And we have not had that in forever. As we said, we had it for one half of 2007.
Right.
So,
right. All right. So call your shot for Sunday. Raiders,
yeah,
Browns.
Speaking of calling our shots, one last thing before we do that.
Yeah.
I almost nailed the score last week.
Yeah, you did. I was nowhere near it.
I was like, I'm sitting in the stands. I'm like, come on, Browns, figure out a way to get 2 more field goals. That way I could have nailed the score exactly. But
I was pretending I was you last week and went with the emotional score.
yeah. What did we learn?
Yeah. Step back from the John juice here, for God's sakes.
I know, right?
35-7. What was I thinking?
Yeah, This is a tough one because it can go either way.
Yeah.
Like your pick last week, you said it could go either way. I really think, but I wouldn't be. I'm going to go with my same pick, 27-17. Although I think I think that the defense can keep the Raiders to like under 2 touchdowns.
Right.
But I think the momentum is going to continue, and I really think with the energy that the team has that they're coming off of, and the Raiders, not having a defense, I think it's going to be, the Browns might be able to drop 30 on them. So I'm just going to, I'll stick to I'll say 27-14 Browns.
All right. Well, I'm going to go the other way and just piss you off completely. I'm going Raiders 27-17. I fully suspect the letdown.
Okay.
I do not want it. I'm going to hate myself if I'm right on this one, but I've been in Cleveland too long. I've been in Cleveland too long to just, I don't think I could ever just say, okay, well, we're going to build on this. Even, it doesn't matter what it is. I've just been here too long. So I'm thinking that Gruden's 0-3, he's got to do something, sign a $100 million coaching contract and can't win a game, and those players are not going to want to be the guys that are, the next step for Baker Mayfield, so they're going to play a little bit tougher, since Baker's getting all the attention from every outlet this week, and they don't want to be embarrassed either. So I'm begrudgingly going to pick the Raiders and say 27-17 Raiders.
See, I agree with you with the letdown game, but I think the letdown game is the following week against Baltimore, and I'll tell you why. I think that the energy is there with the team right now. They are riding a high, and I think that's going to carry over. Again, for reasons I said before, they don't have a very good defense. The Raiders' offense isn't anything to write home about either. So, I really think the Browns can beat them, if not roll them. And they'll be on a 2-game, oh my God, winning streak. Coming back home, Baker will be making his first start at home. It's a division opponent.
Right.
And depending on what happens, let's say Baltimore and Cincinnati lose this upcoming weekend. If we win, we're in first place. So
right, now you're getting way carried away.
Well, but I'm saying, but that's just the truth.
Right.
If Baltimore and Cincy lose and we win, we're in first place. So you're playing a division team. Baker's got his first start at home. They're starting to get some swag because they won 2 in a row, and you can make a legit argument that they should be 4-0. And I think that's when you have the letdown game, because a young team might be walking around with their junk in their hand, like they've arrived, and a veteran team like Baltimore is right there to just knock them back down in the dirt, be like, not yet.
Yeah, could be. I guess we'll see on Sunday.
Yep. So awesome. Well, hey, it was nice to talk about something other than hell with the podcast. It's been 635 days since you and I could talk about anything this good about the Browns, much less record a podcast about it.
And look, neither one of us had to get drunk to do this. That's how good we feel.
Exactly, right? It's the natural high of good football. What can you say?
Absolutely.
So, well, thanks everyone for checking out another episode of the Dawg Pound Podcast. We appreciate you guys tuning in, downloading the show. Share it with your friends. Tell everybody about it, and go Browns, man. The Baker Mayfield era has begun. So let's hope that this is finally our day in the sun for years to come. So until next time, here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Ooh, ooh.
Thanks for listening to the Dawg Pound Podcast. Be part of the next edition by sending your thoughts to Wolf, that's WOOF, at dogpoundpodcast.com, or by calling us at 216-503-6404. See you next time, and go Browns!